Hi there, Laura here from Get Organized HQ, and I'm excited to share with you 28 life hacks to help your home run more smoothly. And these are not just any hacks, these are all things that I'm either currently doing or have done personally, so they are tried and true. Now I'm telling you, number 4 is kind of surprising, maybe not what you'd expect, and I've started doing it recently and I love it. And number 12 is really kind of strange, but it does work. I have tested it. And this is all part of a collab with some other YouTubers. So if you want even more hacks, be sure to click the playlist below and go check out all their videos. It's in celebration that registration has opened for Get Organized HQ Virtual. I'll tell you more about that later, but the link to sign up for that is down below if you haven't already. I was recently fighting with my cord drawer, and I tried several systems and nothing was working for those little tiny cords. They were always getting tangled up and all that. So I finally decided to use bead boxes, those little tiny boxes, in order to organize the cords and other little things. I have keys, some other random things in there. It looks amazing. It's so easy to get what you need. My husband even came in, opened the door, and was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So this really works. And here's a trick. The drawer that I was using was more shallow than your standard kitchen drawer. They were laundry. It was in the laundry room, and for some reason it just was more shallow. So the standard size bead boxes that I had didn't fit. However, Amazon to the rescue. I went on there and realized, oh, they make all different sizes. So I found a size that does fit. I will link to that where it has all the different sizes. So you might be able to find one that fits for you. And it's a great way to organize all those little cords. Often when you're decluttering, you keep track of and celebrate how many things you got rid of, which is fantastic. You know, you might have gotten rid of 500 items or this many trash bags or all of that. But there's another component to this that I don't see people celebrating as much, but it's equally as important, and that is celebrating the things that you don't bring in. Because even if you keep decluttering, if you're constantly bringing things in at the same rate, you're not going to make a lot of progress. And so celebrate those things that you might want, that you would typically have bought, but that you think better of and realize, you know what, I don't really need this. It's going to become clutter. Make sure you celebrate those. I even write those on my decluttering tracker. For example, I didn't buy the really cute dish drying mat because my towels work just fine, and I just know I'm going to use it for a month and then get rid of it. I definitely talk about this a lot because I think it's so important. But when you are choosing any kind of bins to organize your stuff, the fewer different types you can use throughout the entire home, the better. So for example, you see these white bins behind me that I've used. If I was doing another shelf, I would get those exact same bins because that allows things to be more versatile. You can mix and match. If I want to have some extras on hand, I don't have to have extras of 28 types of bins. I only use a few bins throughout my entire house. Now, this one might be a little bit of surprising and not what you'd expect to hear me say, but this is something I did recently that I'm super happy with. So for many years, I admired the pictures of like matching shampoo bottles. So like when you see a picture of a shower, you'll often see this in like staged homes and things like that, where the shampoo, the conditioner, the body wash, the shaving cream, the face wash, they all match with matching labels. I thought that was really cool. But in my mind, I told myself that was over the top. Like, it's not practical, and I thought of all the excuses, the expense, the trouble, what are people gonna think? The rest of my house isn't organized, I surely shouldn't do that until it is. Then I decided, you know what? I don't have to have special permission to do the thing I really want to do. So I just did it. I bought the bottles. I bought the $19 funnel that you need in order to decant your conditioner. You do not have to stand there for 30 minutes and squeeze it in. You get this cool funnel, and I love it. I'm so happy. I use my shower on a daily basis. Every time I walk in the bathroom, like I have a smile on my face because I love seeing those matching bottles all lined up. It's not hard. I don't mind decanting things in there. It's super easy. And it gave me more motivation to keep going. So then I was like, well, I had a couple pieces of junk on my counter, and I was like, well, now that this is like looking all tidy, I may as well take care of that. So it's been kind of like a reset that has started me on a positive path and motivated me to keep up with my bathroom. Now, Maybe you could care less what your shampoo bottles look like, and that's fine. My point isn't that you too should get matching shampoo bottles. But whatever that thing is that you've been admiring that you really want to do, you don't have to wait until you have permission. You don't have to worry about whether or not other people are going to think it's over the top. You don't have to worry about if it is actually a bit over the top. And you certainly don't have to have your entire home all tidy before you can put those special touches on it. So if maybe you have personally been eyeing some matching bins that go in your pantry, or maybe you want to shine your sink or have matching spice jars, you can go ahead and do that and give yourself that gift no matter what the rest of your home is like. This makes travel so much easier and saves me so much time. I keep all of my toiletries and makeup items packed at all times. So I just have duplicates of, my makeup and all those types of toiletries. So it's always packed. When I get home from the trip, I make sure if there's anything that I used up, I have a note of it in my phone and I make sure to add it back in. And then when I'm ready to go, I just grab that whole thing. There's one surprising tool that I use when it comes to organizing, especially anything paper, my kids' papers, recipes. I did it when I was house hunting, just all sorts of things. This doesn't get talked about a lot, but I use it all the time, and that is report or presentation binders. So essentially, it's those sleeves where you can insert regular size paper, but they're bound in one book. So you don't have the bulk of a 3-ring binder, because a 3-ring binder can be pretty bulky. So the presentation binders are nice and they do not take up a lot of space. I use these for so many things, but my favorite thing is for my kids' papers. So you know how they have all those papers and you want to save some of them. All I do is we go through the papers and I just stick them in the binders. Here's the deal though. I don't overthink this. I don't try to put it in a special order. I don't try to label it with the date or the year, or I don't try to write anything about it. I just put it in there. Now, in the ideal world, yes, I would write what day, what date, the circumstances, and notes about it. But if I did that, you know what? It wouldn't get done. It is far better that they be in binders that we can look through and enjoy than that they be sitting in a corner in a box somewhere because I hadn't taken the time to do it. So if you have those papers, just take a presentation binder, start putting them in. When I did my recipes, no order, just put them in there. So you don't have to over organize, but these are great tools. Now, none of us love to clean, especially if you find that your space is a little bit of a wreck. But one thing that helps me so much is to go in the same order every time, especially when I need to do a reset cleaning, which I also call a mental health cleaning, because when things start to get kind of out of hand in my main areas, that's like my dining room, kitchen, living room area, I start to get a little bit crazy and it starts to really bother me. And sometimes I just need to say, I'm going to stop and I am going to focus on getting this area reset. So I go in the exact same order every time. It makes it so much easier. It reduces the decision fatigue and it helps me feel like I'm making progress. Instead of running around doing a few of this, a few of that, I work on one thing until it's complete and then I go to the next thing. And if you want that checklist, there is a link down below where you can download a copy for yourself and watch an entire video where I take you through the process of me doing it in my own home. If you want to have more fun without spending extra money, consider checking out your local library. Now, we have a really good library system where I am. I realize that not every location has this, but if you haven't checked it out, you might want to do that because our library has so much to offer. First of all, they have these experience tickets. They're free, and we can go to places like museums and historical societies and even the water park without paying anything if you get one of those experience tickets. They also have, obviously we all think of them for books, which of course they have, but they have like kits, like a bird watching kit, other types of kits. They have games you can check out, puzzles. They have a lot of different educational kits for kids. Obviously, if you're a homeschooler, that would be great, but also like over the summer with my kids. They also have cake pans, like those shaped cake pans that you can check out. They also have several things at the library. They have a sewing machine that you can use, a 3D printer, and they even have people that will help show you how to use it. So if you haven't checked out your local library, you might want to do that. I have a lot of experience with buying, using, and testing all sorts of organizational bins. After having done this for 12 years, I've tried a lot of things. And one of my number one piece of advice when you're buying any kind of bin is choose bins that don't waste space. It never ceases to amaze me how many bins they create that really do not make a very good use of space. So like if the sides angle in a lot, you're wasting space. If they don't stack nicely on top of each other, all those things are really important. So think about, is this gonna make the best use of my space? That's even more important if you have smaller spaces and less storage space. And this is never more important than in the kitchen, because we all have so much that we want to keep in the kitchen. I want to keep all the stuff in my pantry, and I am telling you, those popular organizational containers, they do not fit nearly as much as your good old-fashioned, like literally my mom and grandma had this when I was growing up, like the literal Tupperware brand Tupperware. Those are the best use of space I have ever seen. They also fit the cabinets well, so they're not like, you don't have a bunch of extra space. I have an entire video on that, reviewing different types of storage containers and showing the pros and cons of each. If you're interested in that, I'll leave the link below. It's hard to get motivated to do things that you're not excited about. And so many things fall into this category. Washing your dishes, cleaning something up, making a phone call you've been putting off, paying your bills, doing your workout. I mean, the list goes on. And one of my favorite tricks is to tell myself that I just have to do it for 2 minutes. Because, for example, let's say I'm gonna work out on my spin bike. And if I think, oh my goodness, I have a 60-minute spin that I had planned for today, and I have to sit there on my spin bike and keep going for 60 minutes, it is overwhelming and I keep putting it off. But if I tell myself, look, just get your spin clothes on, get your shoes on, get down there, and you just have to do it for 2 minutes. Same with washing dishes. Just start. Do it for 2 minutes. And if you want to, you can stop. 90% of the time, it's the getting started that's the hardest part. And 2 minutes in, I'm totally happy to keep going. Somewhere around 5 to 10% of the time, I'm still not into it, and I do stop. I'll get off the spin bike after 2 minutes, or I'll stop washing the dishes after 2 minutes, because if I tried to make myself keep going, the rule would backfire, and I would know that I was tricking myself. So if you're really not into it, fine. You can put it off for a later time, but that can get you going. All right, this one's a little bit different. I have not heard a lot of people talk about this, but we all know that on our cell phones, we can use reminders whenever we need to do something. However, if you have a lot of reminders pop up and you're busy, you can click that snooze button or just kind of dismiss them and forget about them. And then they didn't do you any good because you didn't actually follow through. So my trick for that is I leave myself little threats in my reminders. So for example, if I sign up for a free trial and I want to cancel it, instead of just saying, remember to cancel XYZ trial, in my reminder, I say, cancel XYZ trial or be charged $21.99 every single month for something that you don't even use. That gets my attention and makes me actually follow through on it. Super simple. I actually have a whole video about it. I'll link to that below. Before we move on to the next tip, that's my strange tip, but it does work. I want to take a minute to make sure you know about Get Organized HQ Virtual. It is time sensitive because it's happening soon and you need to go ahead and sign up. Now it's completely free to attend when it's live. So again, you're gonna wanna get signed up. And if you like what you're learning here, you are definitely gonna love Get Organized HQ Virtual. It's where we've brought together over 100 organizing experts to help you do all sorts of things like meal planning, decluttering, organizing, planning, streamlining your life. All those types of things are going to be covered in one event for free. So you'll want to click the link down below and go ahead and claim your spot for that. All right, now this one is a little bit strange, I'll admit, but I really love this and it does work. And that is that I like to leave some empty space whenever I organize, which that may not be that strange, because we like to have room to grow. It'll just make it easier. But the really strange thing that I do is I label bins that are empty. Like literally they say the word empty. And people are like, why did you label a bin with the word empty? Here is why. Okay, first of all, some of it is aesthetics, I will admit, because I don't like the look of some bins having labels and some not. Now that's kind of silly and superfluous, but I like it. However, the real reason is that when something is labeled, it like gives your brain pause and it feels wrong to put the wrong thing in there. This is why labeling helps above and beyond just identifying what is in a location. And so if I have bins that are just sitting empty with no label, it is really tempting to just throw stuff in there. I don't know where to put it. I'm just going to throw it in and they're going to start to accumulate random stuff and then I have to go through them. But if it has a label and it says empty, it just feels a little bit wrong to open up the bin and toss something in there. So it helps me keep them empty until I really do need to use it for something. One of my most popular tips when it comes to organizing products is photo boxes. Now, those little photo boxes, here's the deal. I use them for about everything but photos. They are so practical. They fit so many things, such a uniform manner without taking up a lot of space and being pretty affordable. I actually have an entire video on what I use them for if you want some ideas. I'll link that down below. I don't really think a lot of people do this, but for me, it has really been a game changer. And when it comes to budgeting, and I know no one wants to talk about this, but I'm going to tell you how to make it easier for yourself. It doesn't matter whether you budget on an app, on a spreadsheet, if you use old-fashioned pencil and paper, this can help you. So most people will budget in categories like clothing, food, paper products, craft supplies, all these kinds of things. This is the typical way of budgeting. That does make a lot of sense. However, here's where it gets difficult. When I go to, let's say, Walmart, often I'll buy a lot of things and I get that receipt home and there could be things that belong in like 10 different categories. I mean, I bought, some socks the kids need. That's clothing. Of course, I bought food. And then I bought paper products. And then I bought a craft supply that I need. And then I bought batteries. And honestly, I'm not really sure, where do batteries go? I mean, and so then it stresses me out. And then I put it off because I've got this big long receipt. And I am someone who, if I do it wrong, it really, really bothers me. Like some people would just throw batteries in miscellaneous and be good with it. Well, I'm not. So I'm going to stress over it. So instead, I made a way that is quick, easy, and I can't do it wrong, and I budget by store. So Walmart is in Walmart. I can't get it wrong. I bought it at Walmart. Amazon is Amazon. Kroger is Kroger, and so on. So for most things, I'm budgeting by store. Now, I do lump some stores together like craft stores, so Michael's, Joann's, which is unfortunately out of business, Hobby Lobby, they would go into craft stores, things like that. But this has been a real game changer for helping me keep up with my budget. There's a lot of questions you probably have about this, like what do you do with this? How does this work? What about this? I have a video where I explain it all. I go through the pros and cons. So if you want to dive deeper, go ahead and click that link below. A great way to both maximize space and have things be really accessible so you're not like pulling 5 things out in front of something is to use turntables, because that way you can access everything easily. And the uses for these are endless. Kitchen, crafting, kids' rooms. The sky is really the limit. Office stuff. And I have an entire video on all the different ways I've used these. I will link that down below if you are looking for more ideas. I used to dread pretty much any cleaning task. And that was because I was making the mistake of thinking that I needed to essentially get an A+ every time I cleaned something. So let's say I wanted to vacuum the stairs. Simple enough, right? But then I would see, oh, there's dust over here. And then I would get a duster out and then it didn't quite get it. So then I would go get a damp rag and then it would just snowball and it would take forever and I would be stressed out. Instead, I have a new mindset and I tell myself for most jobs, it is ideal to just give a C effort. So my goal is to get a C. My goal is to pass. It is not to make the thing spotless. Because if you spend every time you clean, you are trying to get an A+, you're just not going to have time and nobody cares. Most of the time, a C job is sufficient. It's kind of that old saying, don't give second-rate effort, don't give first-rate effort to second-rate causes. So I kind of live by that. Now, if you want to dive deeper into this, I do have a video where I talk all about this, so go ahead and click that link below. One of my biggest struggles when it comes to decluttering is getting my kids to declutter their stuff. They don't have the same clutter threshold that I do, and they kind of like to hang on to a lot of things, and somehow they accumulate a lot of stuff. So a big hack to help motivate them to declutter without having to nag is to have a garage sale. We have done this recently and it's worked out extremely well because they're literally excited. They like the process. It's a lot of fun. I involved them in the whole thing from finding the things to sell, to pricing them, to setting them up, to being there and interacting. It also gave them some experience kind of interacting with people, a little bit of business sense for like pricing and realizing, well, if you price it too high, no one's gonna buy it, all those kinds of things. And they were literally excited to go through all their toys and go through their rooms and find stuff to get rid of. If we hadn't had that, they would have been more reluctant to part with their things. So it just made it really fun and easy. So that's a great tip for getting your kids on board with decluttering. I go back and forth with when I do this and when I don't, but this is like a super simple hack that can save you a little bit of time, and that is don't fold your washcloths. Who cares? If you get a bin or a basket, no one can see them anyway. Just toss them in there and no one is gonna know. I bet this is something that not a lot of you have heard, but I use this all the time. It helps my home, my life, pretty much any aspect of life, and that is what I call the think, do, feel train. That is that typically we do not feel motivated to do something until we actually do it. So a lot of times we think, okay, I need to wash the dishes. I need to wait until I feel motivated. And maybe we don't say it quite like that. Or, I need to work out. I need to, bummer, I don't feel motivated. I need to do like this whole list of things. But when you realize that that's not typically how it works, typically first you need to think, okay, it would be a good idea for me to wash the dishes. That's gonna give me the home I want. That aligns with my greater purpose. Okay, I still don't feel motivated. I thought, okay, I need to do it. Here's why. Then I start doing it. And that's when the feelings of motivation come. So we don't need to treat not feeling motivated like an emergency. Just think it, start doing it. And then most of the time, the feelings of motivation will come afterward because you also start seeing the results. When it comes to choosing bins, it is ideal to use bins that are a little bit more multi-purpose rather than for one specific thing. They're more uniform. You can use them in more places. And by far and away, my favorite bin, and you all I know agree, you've told me this, is the multi-purpose bins from the Container Store. And great news, these days there are a lot of dupes. You can find almost an exact dupe at Target. So you can just walk in and buy them, similar prices, doesn't matter where you get them, but these are great. And I have two videos I'm gonna link below if you wanna go more into this. One of them is 52 uses for the multi-purpose bin. So I'm showing you 52 different ways you can use them. Pantry, garage, kids room, car, office, sky is the limit. And another one where I am carefully comparing the ones at the Container Store to the ones at Target so you can choose which ones are right for you. If you struggle, like I sometimes do, with laundry, that is, you wash it, you dry it, and then the clean laundry sits in baskets for loads of time, and then you end up having to go rifle through the basket to get your stuff. That's not fun, right? Here is a rule that can transform that. Now, I don't do this all the time, but when I start to get really overwhelmed, I implement this rule, and let me tell you, it works. So that is the one load at a time rule. So I do not allow myself to put another load in the washer until the first load is washed, dried, folded, and put away. That prevents the buildup of all of these. And then it motivates me because obviously I want to have clean clothes. So I just need to go ahead and get this one put away, and then I can start the next load. Something that really helps me mentally is using my 3-bucket system for planning your days. I have talked about this a lot, but essentially it gives you back control of your days. So you're going to plan everything in 3 buckets. Bucket 1 is the things that are your top priority. That's the top 3 to 5 things you want to get done that day. Bucket 2 is your appointments. That's really easy, just whatever you have on the schedule. And 3 is your wish list. That's everything else you'd like to get done. That gives you back control because you can accomplish bucket 1 no matter what. And then bucket 3 is great if you have time and you can get to it. I also have a video that shows this in more detail, kind of gives an example of the process. So I'll link to that below if you're interested in learning more. Most of us have heard of the concept of inboxes and outboxes, especially for email, like you have your email inbox, possibly for papers and mail, but I use this concept everywhere, not just for papers and not just on the computer for my email, but especially for closets and things like that. I have inboxes and outboxes. So the inboxes are, I come home from the store, I got some new makeup, I got, some extra toothpaste, and I'm often don't have the time to put it away, or maybe it doesn't even have a home. But what I don't want to do is just put it on some random shelf or counter. Then I won't be able to find it later. It's going to build up the visual clutter. So I have an inbox. That's where I put the stuff that I don't know where it goes, that I don't have time to put away. And then once a month or so, I can go through when I have some time and put those items where they belong. The outbox is a similar concept. That's when something I'm ready to pass it on. I don't have to wait until a decluttering session. Right then and there, I can put it in the outbox, and then when it's donation time, I'll just go through all the outboxes, gather up all the stuff so I can get rid of it. So this would be like I put on a shirt and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't realize this had a big tear in it. I'm never gonna wear it again. Let's toss it into the outbox. Now, I have a video that talks all about this and goes into more depth. If you're interested in that, I will put the link down below. This is a huge time-saving hack. That is, when you are making dinner, double what you're making and freeze the rest, because it takes barely any more time for most things to make double the amount, and you'll have it ready to go. I personally like to freeze in individual portions, so it's kind of like my own, freezer meal. I just pull it out and microwave it, so if I don't have time and I still want to eat a healthy meal, I've got it right there ready to go in the freezer. And if we want to pull out multiples of them to serve for dinner, we can. So I got these little cubes on Amazon. They're flexible. They're 2-cup portions, but they also have 1 cup, half cups. They have different portions. I freeze them in there, and then I can pop them out and put them in a container or a Ziploc bag, so it's not taking up as much space in the refrigerator, and I'm already portioning them out. Just throw it on a plate and microwave it. Take the time to learn your organizing personality type. This will help you so much if you're working with how you naturally operate instead of against it. And we have an entire quiz that will help you determine your type. I personally am a sunflower. That means that I like to do things all at once rather than a little at a time. I function best. I get on a roll. I make the most progress. I'm the least frustrated when I do it this way. And I like things to be aesthetic. So I will take the extra time to make things look really beautiful. And if I have done that, I will take the time to keep it that way much more often than if I just went with a more practical style that it totally works, it's still organized, but it's not something that makes me come in and go, oh, that's so pretty. But you may be totally the opposite. Maybe you do terrible trying to do it all at once. It's totally overwhelming. You need to do a little bit at a time, and maybe it would drive you crazy to take the time to put nice matching labels on everything and have its own bin. You want something more practical, but you need to learn your type so that you can work with it. And I'm gonna go ahead and put the link to the personality type quiz down below, and you can take that quiz. It doesn't take very long, it's super easy. It will send you the results, and it will also dive a little bit deeper on your type so you can understand your type and how to use that to help you organize better and faster. My number one tip for saving money on groceries without a lot of time and hassle is to always shop at Aldi first. Aldi is one of my favorite stores, and you do not have to play any games with coupons, store circulars, anything like that. You go in, you buy what you need, and you leave. Other times, you have to worry about clipping coupons either physically or on your phone, and then scanning your receipt and turning it in, and then timing the circulars and going to a bunch of different stores. If you just go to Aldi first, it is almost always rock bottom prices, really good food. There's not a lot of choices, so get in and out fast. Only downside is often I will have to hit up one more store just to get 1 or 2 things that they didn't have. But I really love this for keeping grocery shopping simple and affordable. One of my cardinal rules for decluttering, which is not the rule that I hear talked about the most often, is to realize that every bit of clutter can really belong in one of 4 categories. Because what you don't want to do is begin a decluttering session, look at something, and feel like the possibilities are endless. They truly are not endless. Besides keeping the item, which that's not really clutter, you're just keeping it, there's only 4 things that can happen to something. They're either trash, like literally no one can find value of it, it's trash. You either donate it, pass it on to someone else who can use it, you keep it in another room, so you're going to relocate it, or it's a return. It's a library book, you need to return it to the store, you borrowed it from somebody. Those are really the only things that can happen. When you realize that, it simplifies the decluttering process so much. I have signs for these. I have an entire method if you're interested in Declutter University. I can go ahead and link that down below for you, but just realizing that can really help you not get so overwhelmed in the decluttering process. I did this recently, and that is for each of my children, I bought them their own matching socks. So for my son, he has all black socks. They're exactly the same. They're solid black. And for my daughter, she has all white, exactly the same, all solid white. So we don't have to really match them. Every sock goes with every other sock. In the past, even when I tried to do this, the stores didn't carry socks that didn't have some kind of colored element that had to go with their mate. And Amazon had some. They're like about $1 a pair. My kids like them. They say that they're comfortable. They've lasted a while, and it's so easy to match socks now. And I don't end up with all these mismatches because it can go with any other sock, and it just makes laundry simple. If you don't want to stop learning about these tips, be sure to click the link down below where other experts are sharing their top life hacks to make your home run more smoothly. And again, don't forget to sign up for Get Organized HQ Virtual if you haven't already.